And welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. What's going on? Happy holidays to all of you. Hey, listen, I want to first start off by saying, hey, thanks for supporting the show. We have moved Hockey Sense, which has been a long-standing radio show here in St. Louis for years and years and years, and now we have taken it purely to, I don't need these headphones, purely to the podcast format here at Half Coast Studios. Great to be here. It's our same studio that we broadcast Cam and Strick from. So it's very familiar. We got the same people running it, all of that, and it's opened it up to a much bigger audience. We had Doug Armstrong on a few weeks ago. Great response in terms of our conversation with him. And I hope everyone continues to subscribe and support what we're doing here with Hockey Sense in addition to the Cam and Strick podcast. The Blues lose last night in Tampa Bay. 3-1 the final there. Listen, I know the shots were lopsided. I thought the Blues actually played pretty good in terms of the pressure they had inside the Tampa Bay end. They had a number of shots. They had a number of chances. I think even Jim Montgomery said after the game that he felt like his team possessed the puck more than Tampa, and if they play like that, they're going to come out on the better end more often than not. We don't typically see a Blues team outshot their opponent the way they did last night, especially a good team like Tampa Bay, but 32-18. The shot differential last night, that's good. But again, the difference for the Blues right now is just the lack of natural finishers that they have. For a stretch there, they were getting some offense from guys like Zachary Bolduc. Dylan Holloway was on a tear. He was scoring a bunch of goals. But, you look up and down the lineup right now and guys who are not producing offense. They try to get guys like, Alexei Toropchenko going. He's got one goal on the season. Last season he was in double digits in goals. He had 14 goals last season, 10 goals the season before. And when Jim Montgomery talks about getting hungry around the net and being able to finish around the net, getting some of those loose pucks, out battling the opposition, those are the types of players, I think, in my opinion, that he's referring to. I mean, when you're 6'5", you're a big body. I mean, that's typically where you're going to get your goals. I mean, watch Matthew Tkachuk tonight. And watch all his highlights. Look at Brady Tkachuk last night in overtime, where these guys score their goals from. That's where they score, around the blue paint. They can score off the rush. Toropchenko probably can score off the rush. But more often than not, it's not going to be where he produces his offense. Brandon Saad, nothing in terms of goal scoring right now. He's got 4 goals on the season. Those coming in 2 games combined. He had 2 goals in each of the games that he scored in this season. Guys like Walker, who got elevated early in the game yesterday to a third-line role because of situations they're dealing with Radek Faksa and whatnot. Listen, you know what you're going to get from him. I don't think you go into games expecting offense from Nathan Walker. You want him to be a good penalty killer. You want him to win battles. You want him to bring energy, finish hits, stir it up a little bit when necessary. He does that. I've got no complaints whatsoever about Nathan Walker. Jake Neighbors, he's gone a little bit dry as of late. I mean, all the goal scoring right now is coming from Buchnevich, Thomas, and Kyrou. Nobody else is scoring in the last couple of games. And Neighbors now has gone 4 games without a goal. So, nothing crazy there. But Bolduc got quiet, like I said. Holiday got quiet. Matthew Joseph, nothing. I mean, you traded P.O. Joseph. I know it was a great story having both of them here, but now we got to get back to work here and get some offense going for Matthew Joseph. I thought he was okay last night. He was pretty noticeable. Listen, his speed is there. It's effective speed. But again, he's not a natural scorer. He's not naturally an overly dynamic player with the puck on his stick. But I do think there is some ability there to produce offensively. Schenn. Not a whole lot right now in terms of goal scoring from Brayden Schenn. He's gone 4 games without a goal, and he's got 1 goal in his last 10. Last one is in his last 10 or 11. So again, you just need these guys to produce on the back end. And Colton Parayko was pretty good last night. I think he had 6 shots on goal, but the Blues have now gone 14 consecutive games without a goal from their defense. They didn't have Philip Broberg last night. He was out ill. We'll see if he's good enough to go tonight. Tyler Tucker comes up, played 8 minutes, his 3rd game in 3 nights, probably running on adrenaline. He traveled in the day of the game from Carolina. Not the longest flight, but still it is traveling on a game day. That's not ideal. But when you're dealing with an illness, typically those kind of sneak up on you and you're not expecting it. You're expecting maybe a player, if he's not feeling well the night before, that, hey, let's wait and see how he feels tomorrow before they make a decision on calling somebody up. Um, but again, Justin Falk, these guys, man, I thought last night Perunovic had a chance. He got a pass in the high slot, and his momentum just carried him towards the boards. He didn't even look to even try to throw the puck on net. And, there were situations in last night's game where I felt like the Blues were a little bit perimeter, hanging on to pucks, and they're playing quick in the offensive end. But again, they're not attacking the net and they're not getting pucks to the net. So that's how you score in the National Hockey League. I do want to give Jordan Kyrou a shout out. I think this is the best hockey he's played of his career. I know a lot of you aren't going to like hearing that because you just have it made up in your mind already that he just can't play and he's a terrible player and whatever. And, I question some of you who feel that way, just your ability to evaluate hockey, to be honest with you. And I'm not going to take a shot. Everyone has the right to their opinion. But when you trash a guy over and over and over again, all I ask is that, hey, when a player is playing well, that you give credit when credit is deserved. And this guy's playing his best hockey of his career, I think. I mean, not just this season, but of his career. Last night was the first game in 6 games that he didn't score a goal. So he had a 5-game goal scoring streak. I think he had a 6-game scoring streak going into last night. But if you look at a team like Tampa Bay and how their top players elevated themselves in last night's game, Point, Cirelli, Kucherov, and I didn't even think Kucherov had a great game, but he made some great plays. Even in his game that maybe is, down a level from when he's at his best, he's still better than 99% of the players in the league, it seems. But he was bobbling pucks, turning pucks over a little bit. He fanned on a one-timer. Those aren't things that we typically see from, Kucherov in Tampa. But could you imagine if Jordan Kyrou played on that team? Could you imagine if Kyrou played in Toronto or any, team that has, surrounded, that's, got a bunch of elite talent on their roster? And this guy would fit right in. He'd score a ton of goals. And you just have to give credit, man. The way he was skating last night, he just looked absolutely dynamic. And some of the issues where people complain about Jordan Kyrou, look, I get it. I understand. That can be frustrating for a lot of people. When you overpass, when you turn pucks over at inopportune times, when you're bobbling pucks, when you're overskating pucks, losing battles, not showing second and third effort, pulling up because you don't want to take a hit to make a play. Those are all valid issues for any player if you want to be frustrated with a player. But the reality is we're not seeing a whole lot of that right now from Jordan Kyrou. He's confident with the puck. His passing is on point. His shooting is there in terms of the mentality. He missed the net a couple of times last night where I felt like there could have been an opportunity to score if he would have gotten the puck on net. But again, you're not going to score every game in the National Hockey League. It's tough to score in the NHL. But you got to give him credit, man. That's all I ask. Kyrou, he's been playing much better. Are people allowed to say that? Can you find it within to admit that Jordan Kyrou is playing good hockey right now, just like Robert Thomas is? Thomas has like 14 points in his last 9 games. He's been on fire. Buchnevich scores again last night. You just need these multi-point games from these guys. It'd be nice to get that 3 and 4 point game from a player like Buchnevich. You see Matthew Tkachuk again the other night scored 2 goals in the game. You look at Reinhart and some of these other guys for Florida who they're going to play tonight. I mean, it seems like every night these guys have multiple points in the game. But again, they're surrounded by great players. Their power play's been better. The Blues power play does not look good right now. They were 0 for 2 last night. The penalty kill looks okay, but the power play hasn't scored in a number of games. And when you don't get that crucial power play goal, that's the difference in a game, especially when the Blues lose as many 1-goal games as they do throughout the course of the year. That power play can make up for that and make a big difference. So the power play has got to get better. I don't think it helps when you don't have a threat to score up top. I mean, Justin Falk has pretty much been your primary power play 1 quarterback all season long, and they've made some tweaks and they got Robbie Thomas kind of rotating up high and being that guy up high. But Falk, at some point, man, Chris Pronger told me a long time ago, if you are on the number 1 power play as a defenseman, you should automatically, unequivocally automatically finish the season between 40 and 60 points just by being on the number one power play alone. And it's hard to argue with that. But, a guy like Falk, you look at his numbers right now, who's getting a big time opportunity. He plays big minutes every night. He's got 1 goal on the season. He had 2 goals last year. It was 3 years ago, that 21-22 season when he played his best hockey. That and the 22-23 season. He had 47 points and 50 points respectively in those 2 years. 16 goals and 11 goals in back-to-back seasons. And he's had a number of other seasons earlier in his career in Carolina where he was putting up 16, 17 goals. So he's done it in the past. But if you can't expect him to be that guy where he's not going to produce offensively, then, maybe you find another option if you can, which is difficult to do. I get it. He's a right shot. All of that kind of comes into play. And I'm not saying he can't defend anymore and he can't skate. He can do all of that. He's still a good player. You're better with him on your roster than you are without. But listen, sometimes the definition of a top 6 forward or a power play defenseman is based on production. If you don't produce, I don't know how you can call yourself a top 6 forward. Even if you're in the top 6 role, you got to produce. And if you're a power play quarterback on the number one power play and you don't produce any offense, that's not good. That's an issue. And they've got to find a way to correct that, which isn't always easy. So again, back-to-back losses. The Blues were so tired, they come home and they play that San Jose game. They lose that game. Once you lose that game, that can lead to things kind of falling off track. And they were able to respond and recover against the Rangers. But when you lose at home to San Jose, those are points you'll never get back. You can't replay the game, and those are the games that cost you and they kill you. Going back to last season, they couldn't beat San Jose at home, and now it's carried over to this year. So that is tough. The Blues are one of 3 teams in the NHL. I was reading this morning that have yet to score 6 goals in a game this season. And you don't expect teams to go out there and score 6 goals. It's hard to score in the NHL. But the fact that there's only 3 teams in the league that have yet to have a 6-goal game tells you that just about every team in the league finds a way to break out and bust out offensively in a game, if not multiple games. But the Florida Panthers have scored 6 goals in a game 9 times this season. 9. I mean, so again, the Blues are going to have to be on top of their game defensively, play a structured game, maybe be a little patient, and hopefully draw some penalties. And maybe this is the game they break out on the power play. But be patient and then jump on your opportunities when you get them. But you got to be happy with the way the Blues' top players have been performing. But now you need those secondary players to get going. I mean, I look at a guy like Alexander Texier. I mentioned Brandon Saad. Texier was brought here to be a guy who could spread his wings a little bit. Maybe he was being held back in Columbus, and that's why he wasn't producing, because of his role and some other circumstances that were maybe out of his control. Well, he got hurt. They had him on the 4th line. They put him on the 3rd. They gave him a little power play time last night. But again, he's giving you nothing. He hasn't scored a goal, I don't think, since that game when the Blues won in Toronto. One of their best wins of the year in Toronto when Drew Bannister was still the head coach. But Texier can score goals, man. He scored, I think a dozen goals last season in Columbus, even when he wasn't in an ideal situation. He's got 1 goal on the year. That's the only goal he scored, 2 assists. And listen, he's been a healthy scratch a ton. 4th line, like I mentioned. But you just wonder if you have to cut this guy loose, give him an opportunity to see if he can make a difference. Because right now, if you want to go into every game expecting only Kyrou, Thomas, and Buchnevich to score, it's just not realistic. You can't maintain that pace. Want to give a shout out to Jim Montgomery real quick. I sat down with him on the late shift on the Blues social media channels just a couple of days ago after the last home game in which the Blues lost to New Jersey. New Jersey's a good team too. But it's on the Blues social media channels. It really is like a podcast-style conversation. Get to know Jim Montgomery. There may be some stuff in there that you didn't know. So you can check that out. Blues YouTube, You can find the link on their Twitter, Instagram, all that type of stuff. But if you just go to the Blues YouTube channel and look for the late shift, you can see my conversation with Jim Montgomery. We're going to talk with Drew Bannister coming up. I don't know if he's spoken publicly or not, to be honest, since his firing back on around, November 24th, 25th? That's when he got fired, right before the Blues game in New York. Listen, Drew Bannister, I'm looking forward to this conversation. There's so much to get into with him. Relatively inexperienced coach when he came here at the NHL level, but he had coached for a long time, and he had had a lot of success too. And I was one of those that endorsed the idea of bringing him back to St. Louis for this season. I didn't think it made sense based on where the organization was at, based on where the team was at, to go out and get a recycled coach, pay them $4 million, and see what kind of impact that could have. I just wanted the Blues to be patient for really the situation that they find themselves in now, which is where a guy that they had coveted, who they know, who they like, if he became available, then maybe that's when you make the decision. And with all that being said, Drew Bannister, could certainly coach his way into being here long term too, if the team was having success, which they really weren't. And that opened the door for the Blues to go out and get Jim Montgomery. But I enjoyed covering Drew Bannister, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today. I think he's a smart guy. He's going to find his way back on an NHL bench, at minimum as an NHL assistant. I think once look at Davis Payne, he's made a career as an assistant, been with some good teams, in a good situation right now in Winnipeg. I see a similar situation for Drew Bannister. There's no reason why a quality head coach wouldn't want to bring someone like him on board as an assistant with his experience running a bench and his understanding of the game. I wish nothing but the best for Drew Bannister. And again, I hope you enjoy the conversation coming up. As always, Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios, is brought to you by First Community. We love our friends over at First Community. So much to get into with our friends over at First Community. Check it out, firstcommunity.com. I always talk about the Little Blues program. Get your son or daughter signed up today. You get a number of ice times, great instruction. And this is where they, kind of figure it out for themselves if they really enjoy the game of hockey, Before you invest thousands and thousands of dollars, find out if they even like the game. Chances are they will. They'll probably fall in love with it. No reason why they wouldn't. The First Community, so much stuff going on right now. The Skip a Pay program is great, where you can skip a payment because they know life gets expensive, especially this time of year. You kidding me? I mean, my wife, it's always interesting when I want to go out and buy something for Christmas. She says, no, don't spend the money. Yet she's spending all the money every single day. So it's like, listen, this Skip a Pay can come in really handy between holiday shopping, the year-end expenses. The paycheck may not go as far as it typically does during other times of the year. It'd be nice to hang on to a little more money right now. So they offer the Skip a Payment program, which allows you to skip your next car loan payment using their mobile online banking app. So you must be in good standing with your loan. Processing fee may apply. Give yourself a break, skip a payment, ask about it at firstcommunity.com. We love our friends over at First Community. Happy holidays to all of you over at First Community. Four Hands Brewing Company, check out that mango lemonade. Hard seltzer, baby. Check it out and get it today anywhere you get your Four Hands Brewing Company products. You can check it out at the Schnucks locations or anywhere else that you get your Four Hands products. Like I said, it's great for the holidays. The Mango Lemonade Hard Seltzer is the best hard seltzer on the market. We taste tested so many different ones to see which one tasted the best and we felt like would be the best fit to put our name on it. That was by far the best that we had ever had. So the Cam and Strick Podcast, Mango Lemonade Hard Seltzer, available everywhere. Check it out. And stop on in one of their tasting rooms during this holiday season when you get a few days off. Downtown, 1220 South 8th Street. They're out there in Chesterfield. And then certainly the new location in Kirkwood, which is incredible. They got food from Peacemaker at Kirkwood and downtown, food from High Point at the location in Chesterfield, and a new location coming soon at Lambert Airport. Blue Note Roofing, man. David Novak, he's the absolute best. 314-920-5713. Call him today if you need a new roof. Listen, you may want to check out when you last had your roof put on. Some of these insurance companies are not paying for a new roof if your roof is 10 years or older. So if you've got a new roof, if you got a roof that's like approaching 10 years, and you know you're going to have to replace it, now's the time to do it so you can get the insurance company to help you out with that. But look no further than Blue Note Roofing. Look for that yellow truck driving around St. Louis and you find that Blue Note all over it. David Novak, man, so talented. Roofing, gutters, fascia, soffit, windows, everything that he does. And a huge hockey fan, so he'll talk hockey with you as well. So again, 314-920-5713. Get that new roof. Let him come out and at least check it out and give you that free estimate. Call him today. Tell him you heard about him on Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios, brought to you by First Community. 314-920-5713 for Blue Note Roofing, baby. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Again, don't sleep on their party supplies. They've got so much stuff going on there. All the paper goods. Are you having holiday parties coming up next week for Christmas Eve and Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day? Listen, get all your stuff from Dirt Cheap. You don't even know they have it. You got to download the app, though. If you download the Dirt Cheap app, then you can see all the great deals and all the coupons and stuff that come on the app. So you can take that in and save yourself a little money. They're so good they call them steals. So check that out. Get the app and then head on into your nearest Dirt Cheap location. Some of the locations have drive-thrus. All of them offer curbside assistance, so you don't even have to get out of your car if you don't want to. You can do your shopping online. It really is incredible. We love that. So check that out. All right, let's step aside. We'll come back with Drew Bannister, former Blues head coach. We'll see what he's up to, what he's doing now, and we'll chat with him about his time here behind the Blues bench. Looking forward to Drew Bannister next. I'm Andy Strickland. This is Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios. Thanks for hanging out. Happy holidays to all of you. All right, great to have Drew Bannister with us. And I've been wanting to talk to Drew. Obviously, you want to give guys time, and yeah, you just never know. Every coach is different, Drew. I will say that, covering the Blues now for 25 years, I've seen a lot of coaches come and go. I mean, there's been probably too many, and everybody's different. I remember Joel Quenneville needing a lot of time. Andy Murray needed a little bit of time. Craig Berube was he was talkative the next day. So everybody's different. What's it been like for you since, the day you got let go by the Blues?
Yeah, I think for me, I didn't know what to think or how to address things immediately. So I think I wanted to just kind of just take a little bit of my time. Obviously, when it happened and where we were, first priority is just reaching out to your family and kind of letting your friends know immediately before before it was announced, and then getting back to St. Louis, and then the time spent in St. Louis, just kind of getting my, things organized and getting ready to head back. And, I've been in the game since I've been 16 years old playing hockey. I left Sudbury to play junior hockey. And at the age of 37, I retired and went right into coaching. And I've been in coaching for 13 years. And it's the first time I've experienced this. Not sure how I was supposed to feel. I think talking to other people, a range of emotions, go from pissed off to bitter to disappointment. I think for me, at the time, I was more disappointed than anything. And I think as I reflect even more, I was never bitter at what had transpired. And I think, looking at the bigger picture for me and being a part of the Blues organization and being there for 7 years, the players, the relationships with the players, the relationships with, people like Kevin McDonald, Kevin Maxwell, Peter Chiarelli, through the American League that I worked with, the coaching staffs, coming to St. Louis and working with the staff there. There's been a lot of good, and I think that this for me is just a blip on the screen. It's, one little thing that I'll look back 13 years from now and it's not a big deal. There's more important things in life and more important things that you go through, whether it's with your family or friends. losing your job is one thing, but it's for me, I think it's a time to reflect, look back on the positives, but also learn from the negatives and get better, and I'll take this time now to kind of go through that process, which I've started, and continue to think about it, and just move forward. That's all you can do.
Yes.
I think if we dwell on the negative for as long, you're just going to be stuck, in the mud, and you got to get through that and move forward on it.
Well, you're not the first coach to get fired.
It's certainly not the last. It seems to be the thing to do these days, and that's part of the business. And I think, I didn't get into to coaching for the longevity or the job security. Like that would be crazy. It just, there isn't any job security in coaching these days, and that's just the fact. I got into it because I love the game. I wanted to stay into the game, and obviously I loved it as a player and grew up playing. And once I got the coaching bug, it switches over, and yeah, you love to be in the game. You love to be around the dressing room, the players, and all of that comes with.
Yeah. Well, when you got hired, or you came up as an interim, was because somebody else got fired, right? So it's just the way it works. It's all circular. So this is the first time you've ever been fired? You've never been fired in season before?
Never. I think it was traded probably 3 times in my playing career. So, and again, that's a different thing, especially if you're a single guy, it's not a big deal. If you're a married person, you're picking up, and if you have families, it is, it's a change. And so that, having a family, I think for my family and my kids, it was like, they just wanted to see me and make sure I was okay, and I think that was the biggest thing for my kids, I think. And I think, people, and I'm not much for reading the blogs or listening to too much, but the human aspect in it goes out the door. And, when there's kids and families involved, like it's a different animal. You go home and your kids want to make sure you're okay. And I think the biggest thing for me is making sure that they know I was okay, and then making sure I was checking in on my kids daily, and just making sure they were okay.
Yeah. No, that's always important. Family comes first. There's no doubt about that. Are you watching hockey? Have you watched the Blues? Like how, when was how long did it take you to watch a Blues game?
Long, to be honest with you. Like I said previously, I had a lot of good relationships. I wish the Blues organization players, I want to see them succeed, and I believe in the group in that room, and I want to see them have success. There's a lot of good people there, a lot of good players, and a lot of good people that I want to see have success. And I think, and not necessarily because I was just really busy the first 7 to 10 days that I wasn't watching a lot of hockey, but once I got home, kind of settled into things, like I started to watch more hockey and start kind of planning out my footprint moving forward here in the new year of what I'm going to do. I think when I first came back, I just wanted to kind of put myself into my family and my kids and be present for them and do things with sports and, driving back and forth from school and, go and watch hockey and stuff like that. So now with holidays coming, they're finished school here today, and I got 2 weeks of holidays coming up, so we'll be busy doing family stuff and Christmas stuff and New Year's stuff. So probably taking the kids some skiing and stuff like that, with as long as the weather cooperates for us and we get a little bit more snow up here. But the ski hills are open up here and in Thunder Bay and down in Lutsen, Minnesota, so we're excited about that. But I watched the game last night. I was, when I could, I was kind of running back and forth from my girls' hockey and picking them up and dropping them off. And my oldest had a volleyball game that we were at. So, but I probably managed to watch a handful of the Blues games, and obviously watching a lot of other games. And, like I said, as I move forward here, getting a little bit more involved in doing some projects myself and with some other coaches that are out of work right now. And I'll be doing some traveling to kind of work with some junior hockey clubs in the US and in Canada here that have invited me to go in and kind of help mentor their coaches and just be around for a few days, watch some games, be at practice, give them some ideas. So that'll be something that I start here in probably mid-January.
Wow. Well, let's see, and that'll keep you busy and
Yeah.
keep you involved, which is obviously so important. We're talking OHL teams. What are we looking at?
Yeah, OHL teams and then some USHL teams that I'll go down. I'll actually be down in I think mid January. I'll be down in the US with a USHL team, and then I'll carry on from there to some teams in the OHL a few weeks. I'm just trying to kind of spread it out a little bit every second week. My kids will be in some tournaments, so I want to make sure I'm around for them and see that. But on my downtime, I'm gonna kind of plot out a plan here to go in and be able to visit a few teams and spend some time with some staff and coaches.
Yeah, and it's great to be able to watch your kids because you don't always have that luxury to be able to see tournaments in season.
Yeah, with today's technology, obviously with the online stuff, you can really watch anything you can as long as you're not busy. And for me, this is the first time I'd never been busy since I was 16. Other than the off season. So, which for a coach are as busy as they get too. So, it does give me some downtime to be able to be with them and watch them and be a parent at the rink, which I kind of get away from the parents kind of thing. So I kind of sit off to the side and away from myself and watch and stay away from the banter of minor hockey league parents.
Yeah, it's always important to do that, Jerry.
Yeah.
Your last game with the Blues, was it against the Islanders? Was it Buffalo?
Islanders,
Yeah,
yeah.
Islanders. So after the game, when do you find out? Were you thinking when the game ended that was even a possibility? Were you blindsided? Walk us through how that took place.
I don't know how to feel like what I would say about that. Obviously we weren't performing well, and when you're not performing well, regardless of your situation with your lineup or the way it had been with the health of our players, when you're not performing well or even playing to what you expect your team to play, and you're not putting points up on the board, then there's always that possibility. I think we traveled from the island downtown to New York that night. When we travel, I always sit beside Doug. Doug had just asked me at the end of, as we were arriving, just to meet in the morning, which is not unusual. Like Doug and I would usually meet in the morning for a coffee before, we met with our staff, and then had breakfast and head to the rink. Um, you know, not that I had a feeling, but when I saw Doug and I sat down with him, and Doug's, I mean, he was, I think and I watched some of what he said, and it was pretty much what he told me, and it was a short conversation. I don't think those conversations go very long. I think GMs are well versed in Moneyball and how to say it and just move past it. And I think for somebody receiving it, you don't want to sit around and talk about it. You just want to get out of there. Once everything's said, you just move forward and start to collect yourself and your thoughts, and say your goodbyes, and then get on a plane and get back to St. Louis. So, the conversation as a whole was probably 5 minutes long. And like I said, I don't think Doug said anything differently in his press conference that he said to me.
Yeah. So you do go and say, you tell your assistants, I mean, if they didn't already know, and then did you have a chance to talk to any players, or you just jump on a plane back to say?
I don't think it was the right time or for me to be reaching out to players. Every player reached out to me within probably 40, 20, anywhere from 1 hour, from when they found out to 72 hours, probably. I had every player reach out to me. I had past players that I'd coached with, played before. A lot of coaches within the league, or, coaches that I coached against, obviously friends, and some people that I didn't know, just reached out and just to offer their support. But yeah, I mean, the first thing for me was to reach out my staff, just, let them know what was going on, and thank them for everything that they did, and wish them best of luck, and and then moved on, and got myself packed up, and got myself to the airport.
Were you aware of the relationship that Jim Montgomery had with the Blues? Like when he got fired, were you thinking, this could be a situation where, I mean, he could end up coming here, or were you not even thinking that in
Yeah,
terms of his
no,
relationship with the Blues?
well, not really. I mean, I saw and the only reason I saw the article that Jeremy Rutherford wrote, I don't know when it was, whether it was on the Tuesday or the Wednesday before, was because it got sent to my kids via social media when they were at school, which was uh, kind of upsetting for me. So that was the only reason I saw that, but I had no thought in it. Like, to me, it's just you're doing your job. You got to continue to do your job, and those are part of uh, part of the job. Like things like that are going to be said, written about, and rightfully so at times too. That's the media's job to speculate at times and what they hear or what they thought, even going back to the summer. But um, to answer your question, no, I didn't think anything of it when Jim got fired, and be quite honestly with you, like I reached out to Jim right away when I saw it, and not that uh, I had a great relationship with Monty, but obviously we crossed paths when he was in St. Louis, and so. But I think as a coaching fraternity, that's what you do. You reach out to coaches when things like that happen, and trying to support them and just make sure they're okay.
So when you came up last year, and you end up putting together a good record, the team played better, special teams were better, you get extended or rehired, you get hired, and then obviously you sign a 2-year contract extension. Do you feel like, I always hear from coaches, hey, listen, after I got fired, my second chance, my second go around, I'm more prepared, I'm ready to go. I'm a better coach the second time than I was the first time. I mean, it came at you so quickly, but do you feel like you were ready for it to take over a team midseason, and then coming into this year, how do you think things got away from you?
Yeah, I think that was a great, like, I think for me, being put in that position is a great learning experience. I don't think, you're kind of thrown into the fire where a team's somewhat stumbling, but they have some good pieces and haven't played to their potential, and you're able to get them on track. And we had a good run, but at the end of the day, we were disappointed in where we finished, and we felt that we had enough for where we could have pushed ourselves into a position where we get ourselves in the playoffs. And there were certain, games, throughout my tenure when I was there that, we felt that got away from us and could have been a difference maker. And you go into the summer, starting to plan ahead and get yourself prepared for a training camp, which I thought was very competitive for us. And I thought we had, coming out of the camp, we were feeling good about ourselves, and I think we played extremely well, and, we started to have some injury problems, particularly on our back end, and then we lose Robbie, and now we're trying to fill a lot of holes. But in the same sense, like there's still a team there that should have been more competitive than we were. I feel like, as a coach, myself, like when I look back at it, there was probably 3 or 4 games where we let slip away, where we should have had at least a point or more, or pushed it into overtime where we could have got 2. And I think that's kind of the downfall. Like you're paid to coach and win hockey games, and when you don't, then things like this happen.
You don't want to make excuses, but when you lose a Philip Broberg and you lose a Robert Thomas, I mean, at the same time for an extended period of time,
Yeah.
how difficult was that?
Yeah, I think it's difficult, but it happens. It's part of the game, and a lot of teams go through it, and um, you gotta find ways to put players in positions where you can have success as a team, and we were constantly trying to do that, to the point where it was probably detrimental. But you're trying to find centermen to play in positions that maybe they haven't done that before. We used Bucci at center. We had to bump him up to first line centerman. And to Bucci's credit, like he was doing everything in his power to become a better player and help the team out, and but it like at the end of the day, and you can talk about, we didn't even have Letty. We had Letty for what, 2 or 3 games, and Sod we didn't have the first week, and then we lost Matty Joseph for 3 weeks. So there was a lot of injuries that were involved in there, but at the same time, it's like there was opportunity for other players for us as a staff, myself, to get more out of those players, and I wasn't able to.
Yeah. Um, what's wrong with Saad? I mean, do you feel like you just couldn't get him going? I mean, they're trying to get him going right now. Do you feel like, you know, not starting this season with the team kind of set him back?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought Sauter, like to be honest with you, I was really excited about Sauter. I thought he had a great training camp. Like I was really excited about him, and I thought when he came, I think he missed the road trip. So it was 3 games. I'm pretty sure he came back the fourth game, and I thought he played well. Um, and you know, I think he scored early on, and then he seemed to go in a drought. And the one thing that I learned about Sauter last year was that that happens to him, but when he gets hot, he gets hot.
Oh, yeah.
Like you look at probably the last 6 weeks of last year, or the last 8 weeks of last year, and him and Jordan Kyrou were probably the 2 of the hottest players on our team. Like and he scored big goals. Like we're not talking about the opening game of goal or just a fluff goal. It was like game winners, overtime winners. Like he's a big time player in big moments. And I just think players go through this. Like they go through slumps where they're struggling a little bit, and it takes them some time to find their feet and their knack. And I think he's just going through that. He's still a young hockey player. Like he's a 32-year-old man that again just had a new baby, another baby, and sometimes that's a life change. Like that's a changing moment in your life that becomes a little bit of a distraction. But I feel like Sauter's a real good player, and he'll come through at some point, and he'll find his stride, and he'll start scoring for them.
Yeah, I agree. No, there are stretches where he can carry a team offensively for a week at a time when he does get hot. I remember talking to you when you first came up about learning the players around the league too. Like when you're in the American League for as long as you were, you come up to the NHL. Do you feel like you ever got a real firm handle, or how long does it take to really understand how coaches use their players, how opposing coaches coach, and really learning the National Hockey League?
Yeah, I felt like towards the end of the year, I started to get a better handle on coaches and how they utilize some of their players. Um, from team to team, typically, and there were some teams that when I came in, I didn't see until this year too. So, and then there's some coaching adjustments, changes throughout the summer, players. So, I would say that I was pretty comfortable going into this year, comparable, and not to say that I was uncomfortable, but you're learning tendencies of players, you're learning tendencies of coaches and how they use their players, whether it's at home or on the road. I've found when you're on the road, it's easy to dictate, the play a little bit more than it is when you're at home. If you feel you're matching lines a little bit more, I feel you get caught up in matching lines at times when you're at home, and sometimes. And that's another thing of understanding who you're coaching against and how they want to play their players. And McDavid's one in Edmonton where he plays him quite often, and he'll play him in different situations. And I think it was the second time we played him, I made a change just because I felt we needed to be stronger down the middle. And I think at that time I had Schenner playing up on the wing, and at that point we had made a change where we put Bucci in the middle, and I wanted to have Schenner in the center just because I knew the matchup that he'd probably be coming with McDavid every second shift, and I wanted to have I wanted to make sure I had the ability of either having Robbie, Bucci, or Schenner out against him on the fly. We ended up winning that game. I think it might have been the overtime game at home when Sauter scored. We won that game. I think it was because, of our matchup down the middle. It's hard to match up against him, but, I think that game we went with Robbie, Bucci, Shenner, and Hazy, I think, in the middle, or maybe we put Hazy into the wing. At that point, I think we had I'm not sure if Sonny was injured at that point yet for the season, or if he was still there. I might have moved Hazy to the wing and put him at center on the fourth line.
Yeah. I mean, he had some good moments too. I mean, the game in Toronto this year obviously was. I really felt like that was going to springboard the team. I mean,
Yeah.
it was such an impressive win. Um, what happened after that, in your opinion? Like, did you feel like things just kind of fell off? Like, did you feel like
Yeah, I
that
think,
wing was going
that
to be able to
was, I
carry
felt,
over?
yeah, and I think, so certainly the Ottawa game was a game that surprised me in the way that we played, especially,
Yeah.
after we didn't play. I don't want to say we were poor in Montreal, but we played average. Like we had an opportunity to win that game, and we let that one get away from us. And then the Ottawa game was just from start to finish. We weren't ready to play. I thought the Philly game, we deserved better than we got. Like, we were the better team. Like, there's no question that we were the better team in that game. And it's we end up losing that game, I guess, 2-1, right? So we don't push it to overtime. I think if we push that game to overtime, we win that hockey game. We were just a better team. And so there's those are games, like, to me, that stand out. The Philly games that really made a difference, and the points, and probably me being here and not being there. Obviously, you look at the Ottawa game, and that happens to a lot of teams, and then it happens again at home and versus Washington, and we just we're not there. So, but it happens too much. When it happens too much, it's not good.
Yeah.
Especially with the team that we had. Take away the injuries, that stuff shouldn't happen at this level. And at the end of the day, then the coach has to take the responsibility for that.
Yeah. Some late game giveaways, some
Yeah.
turnovers and just some goals that you guys were got scored on late in games.
Yeah.
Trying to just close out a game became a challenge. So, well, what do you want to do now? Like, are you hoping to stay in the NHL? Would you be open to go being a head coach in the American League? Like, what do you are you
Yeah.
looking to go back down that road? Like, give me an idea of what you're thinking.
I haven't really, to be honest with you, I haven't really had that time to really think about that. I know I want to stay in the game. I'm going to continue to coach. I have no question about that. Where I'm going to coach next, I don't know. I think that's going to be an answer that'll probably happen realistically more in the spring, early summer for me. Obviously, right now I'm under contract for the next 2 years with the Blues, and they hold the cards for me. Anybody that wants to talk to me has to go through the Blues first to get the okay to be able to talk to me. So, but I mean, where the way the game is right now, obviously at the American League level, coaches aren't getting fired mid-season. Very few coaches are getting fired. I mean, their assistant coaches get fired at this time of the year. We know the carousel of NHL coaches getting fired, but I think there's still some very quality older coaches out there right now that have tenure in the league they're sitting back and probably want to continue to work. But probably teams that are in the playoff hunt or have playoff aspirations would probably look at before me. That's just the fact. But do you want to coach in the NHL again? No question. That's where you want to be as a coach, is in the top league, whether it's a head coach or an assistant coach at that level. We'll see. But I haven't really made that decision or thought too much about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Would you be open to being an assistant too, or are you just focused on wanting to be a head coach? But like, even in the case of Monty, I mean, this guy won the Jack Adams 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they won the President's Trophy, and then he gets fired, right? I mean, so it's a tough business, Drew.
Yeah.
In the
It's,
NHL right now, man. I mean, it is very, very difficult to have any type of longevity.
yeah.
It's tough.
And that's the way the game's kind of gone with the business and the cap, and it's I think it's and I personally don't know. That's me just guessing. I don't think it's easy to make trades in today's game. You know, to move players, whether it's with no trade contracts or cap space. I think it's very difficult in today's game to be able to make those changes. So the easiest change to make is to your staff usually for management to really kind of muck things up and get people's attention.
Yeah. All right. Last thing for you. You touched on it when you first came on, but I mean, what kind of feelings do you walk away with? Being in St. Louis, just the organization, the players.
Yeah.
Do you have is it a bad taste? Does it take a while to get
No,
over that?
no,
Or-
not at all. Nothing but positive. Like nothing but positive. Like, I mean, and this is, like like I said, like for 7 years, there's been a lot of positives. I got my first job as an American League coach, with the Blues. First job as an NHL coach with the Blues. And I was fired for the first time with the Blues. So Doug did that all. So a lot of firsts. But in between that, there's just so many positives, positive relationships with players, seeing them grow, move up to the Blues, move on to other NHL teams, great relationships with staff members, Kevin McDonald, Kevin Maxwell, who I've worked with in San Antonio and Springfield, like just great people to work for. Love my time. Timmy Taylor, all these, the development group, Chris Thorburn, and again, Pete Chiarelli, like all big supporters of me. All great people, all great hockey people. Having this happen will not change my relationships with them, although there's still going to be friends. There's still going to be people that I have contact with and talk to about the game and talk to just about normal family stuff. So as far as my thought process with the Blues, it's positive. It's been great.
Yeah.
I mean, it is disappointing how it ended, but that's part of the game. And like I said, 13 years from now, it's just going to be, a blip on the screen for me.
13 years, 3 years, 3 years from now.
Well, hopefully it'll be another 13 years before I get fired. So we'll.
Yeah. Well, listen, you've had success at every level, even last year. I mean, people always ask me, even coming into this season, why the Blues decided to bring Drew Bannister back. And the first thing I always said was, well, his record. We went 31-19-5. They almost made the playoffs and showed some improvement there. But it's a tough business, man. I mean, only you guys that are involved in it, and who have worn those shoes kind of really knows what it feels like and the challenges and the stresses that come with it. And there's a lot of great things that come with it too. So, but you did a great job here, Banny, and I know the fans and everybody appreciated that. You're great to cover and great to work with too. So all the best to you. Let's keep in touch. Enjoy the time with the family and enjoy the holidays up there in Thunder Bay. Just don't get hurt. Go when you go skiing.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. And all the best to you and your family in the holidays and all your listeners too. So, and best of luck to the Blues. Be watching them.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Drew. All the best.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks for it.
You got it. All right. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Drew Bannister. Listen, I appreciate when he, taking the time to come on. I really do, because that's not easy. I don't know what it's like to be fired as a head coach in the NHL. And especially when you see a team start winning after you leave. I mean, that just can't be easy. And this is his first crack at it. First time being a NHL head coach. It's a different situation than Jim Montgomery, for example, who had all the success in Boston, and you just knew when he got fired by the Bruins that it would not be long before his phone rang and he would not be out of work long. And that proved to be the case. Monty was hired, 5 days later by St. Louis, which is just pretty remarkable. That doesn't happen all the time either. Cam and I just had John Hines on. He's one out of the only other coaches I can think of that has been on an NHL bench with two different teams in the same season. He went from Jersey to Nashville in the same season. But we don't typically see coaches get fired and then find their way onto another NHL bench just a matter of days later. It's incredibly unusual. Not to say it hasn't happened, many times in the past, but it's unusual. You just don't see it happen. And usually it's a month or two. It's never within the same week. But the Blues made the right call in terms of bringing Jim Montgomery in. I mean, there's no doubt. He's a hell of a coach, and I think just in terms of moving forward with him, the Blues are going to be in good hands in terms of, his ability to, kind of get a feel for the roster of the organization this year, and there's still an opportunity for them to get into the playoffs. You just don't want to see too many more games slip away. Tonight's going to be difficult in Florida, obviously, with the way the Panthers have been playing. But the Panthers have played a ton of hockey, man, being in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years, winning it last year, and they appear to be the favorite to do it again this season. I mean, who's better than the Florida Panthers right now out of the Eastern Conference? They are one hell of a team. But again, we appreciate Drew Bannister for taking time to come on and chat with us, and wish he and his family a Merry Christmas. I wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas. Hey, Arco Construction brought us that interview. They have taken St. Louis hockey to the next level, one ice rink at a time. With the construction of the Centene Community Ice Center, the Maryville University Ice Center, they bring the fun to St. Louis too. They built the Putt Shack, they built Topgolf. So they've got a lot of positive things happening. But again, we love their rink construction. If you are looking to build a rink, there's no other place to look at or to contact than Arco Construction. Jeff Cook and John Comlos, everybody over there, happy holidays to all of you. I mentioned Blue Note Roofing, the one and only David Novak. Give him a call, 314-920-5713 if you're looking for a new roof. Soffit, fascia, gutters, windows, roofing, whatever it is, he will take the best care of you. Plus he loves hockey. He'll talk some hockey with you. We may take a little bit of a break here for next week, Christmas week. And we've got the Winter Classic coming up. We've got some stuff happening. So stay tuned in terms of what we end up doing with Hockey Sense next week. We may have 1 week off during the Christmas week. Studios being closed, all that type of stuff. We're just working around that and trying to figure out the best course of action. The Blues do play at home next Friday, the 27th. That's their first home game and first game coming out of the Christmas break. So stay tuned. You can hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. I appreciate all the support from all of you. Tell all your friends, keep subscribing, and keep supporting Hockey Sense with Andy Strickland. We appreciate that. Live from Half Coast Studios, brought to you by First Community. Again, we talk about First Community all the time. They've got that, there's no better time to buy a home. I can go in so many different directions with First Community. But with the winter coming, there's a common belief you should only try to buy a home in spring. Whoever came up with that concept, they're wrong. That is not necessarily true. Now it's a great time to buy. If you've been looking at homes, wanting to make a move, but holding off because of higher rates, don't wait any longer. First Community offers 30-year and 15-year fixed rate loans, plus an affordable alternative loan that's even more affordable. You never pay a fee for the application, ever. Processing, underwriting, no fees. And First Community also offers a jumbo loan and a loan specifically for the first-time home buyer. So take advantage of that, firstcommunity.com. We thank all our sponsors, Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, Four Hands Brewing Company, everybody, Blue Note Roofing, the best in the business. I mentioned Arco Construction, Lordo's Diamonds. Get in there. I'm heading there right now. It's the perfect time to buy this special someone in your life, something special for the holiday season. Are you looking to pop the question? Even leading up to Valentine's Day, listen, they will treat you the exact same. If you're going into Lordo's Diamonds and you sit down with Mike or Jimmy Lordo and you say, I've got a $100,000 budget, or you say I have a $500 budget, guess what? You're going to get the same customer service. It will not change. That's why they've been around for 70 years, right there in the heart of Ladue. 314-432-8008. 314-432-8008, right next to Truffles, right there in the heart of Ladue. You want to get in the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit, stop on into Lordo's Diamonds. Hey, Jamal Mayers is on assignment this week. He will not join us. We'll be back with him in our next show. Looking forward to talking things over with Jammer. So all of that, go to Dobbs.com. That's who brings Jamal Mayers to Hockey Sense each and every week. So we appreciate all our sponsors. Um, one more thing. If you saw, I gave Cam Jansen a present, one of that surprise box from Globe Drug, 1900 South Broadway. They make their own chocolates. They still have some surprise boxes left. If you're going to a white elephant party or office parties or want to bring something fun to a relative's house on Christmas Day, get one of these surprise boxes. They're under $5. You never know what you're going to find inside. It's incredible. It's so much fun. But they make their own chocolates in-house as well. When you go in there, tell Rick that you heard about him through Hockey Sense, and he'll take care of you. Again, 1900 South Broadway. Get one of those surprise boxes. They got so much stuff inside of there. You never know what you're going to find at a Globe Drugs drugstore. They've been around for 85 years. Support local business this holiday season. All right, so I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We thank Drew Bannister, and give a shout out to the Blues organization and Doug Armstrong and everybody this holiday season, and hopefully they can take care of business. They still have, 2 more games to go here before the Christmas break. They play at Florida, then at Detroit before they take their holiday break. So it's tough, talking to these coaches who get fired, man. It's tough. But Doug Armstrong, man, I love how he said that Doug Armstrong told him the exact same thing that he told the media in his press conference. I mean, he's not holding anything back. It is what it is. When you have a relationship with a coach like a Jim Montgomery, who's experienced and has had success and has a history, sometimes it leads to making tough decisions. And I think that's exactly what Doug Armstrong did. That's what he told Drew Bannister, and that's what he told the fans. So he's not holding anything from anybody, and I love the fact that that was confirmed by Drew Bannister. Not that it needed to be confirmed, but it certainly was. So we'll pick back up after Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. For Aiden, I'm Andy Strickland. Everybody have a beautiful Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll do it again very, very soon, and appreciate all the support that you're giving us here on Hockey Sense. Merry Christmas, everybody.